What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Andy the Destroyer Ruiz. Andy Ruiz returns to the ring April 24th against Chris Arreola. That's right. Chris Arreola is his opponent, as we expected, because that was the rumored opponent all these months and times. And in fact, he was supposed to fight Chris Arreola last year, okay? However, it fell through for whatever reason, and Luis Ortiz versus Alexander Flores was the replaced main card that night. So Luis Ortiz still got the fight, where Ruiz and Arreola did not. Okay, the Destroyer and the Nightmare did not square down for whatever reason. Now, that was the day that Luis Ortiz, knocked out Alexander Flores with a floating rib shot, right? So that was the night that's supposed to occur. He was supposed to be the headliner, being the former unified heavyweight champion of the world. And this, how do I feel about that? What's my counterpunch on Andy Ruiz and Chris Arreola? Well, that was a fight you saw coming. That was a fight that was the projected opponent. Chris Arreola lost his last fight to Adam Kownacki. Adam Kownacki was defeated by Helenius. So here we go again. A 39-year-old fighting a 31-year-old, okay, within Andy Ruiz. I'm glad to see Andy Ruiz back into the ring. I just wish this would have happened earlier. For whatever reason, that fight fell through. I think it should have happened at some point last year. I don't know if it was money, confidence, mentality. I don't know, because, see, I'm not set in stone to see where Andy's head was at in 2020. You can rebuild. You said you were training. He was training since the beginning part of the Corona season, which was in around this time last year. So I don't understand why that fight didn't happen. Okay. Now, on top of that, the most disappointing problem about this is that it's going to be on pay-per-view, people. Fox pay-per-view, Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola will be on Fox pay-per-view, which, why the hell would this fight ever be on pay-per-view? I know Andy Ruiz is a good opponent. He's reconstructed, right? Hopefully improved opponent, but to throw him on pay-per-view right now against a tune-up. Chris Arreola is a tune-up. Why would we want to pay to see him fight a tune-up? What does Chris Arreola have now in his career? The former Olympian, the Olympian that was, I forget what he placed. I think it was bronze or silver. Okay. What does he have to challenge Andy Ruiz with? He's not a mover. He's not a pure boxer. He's not anyone that we are convinced that Andy is back. He's a guy that's a human body to get beat up. That's all he is. In fact, Arreola said it himself that Andy Ruiz beat the shit out of him in sparring, because he was thinking in himself, and this was a long time ago, he was like, yo, who is this fat kid? But when he got in the ring with that fat kid showed him who he was. Okay? That was years ago, all right? I remember that interview like it was yesterday. Now, according to this, Chris Arreola, 38-6-1 and 33, which has a decent record, but the losses, he's lost from everybody from Stavern twice to Deontay Wilder to Adam Kownacki to Vladimir Klitschko. He's been in, I think it was Vitaly Klitschko, but he's been in there. He is a tested fighter. He's a tested fighter, but at this point of his career, he's a gatekeeper, and this is a tune-up for Luis Ortiz. You can't compare Chris Arreola to somebody like Luis Ortiz. Now, speaking of Luis Ortiz, that would have been a great fight to headline a pay-per-view. Okay, and I hate how Fox stretches fights, or how Al Heyman stretches fights, but at the end of the day, you can't blame Heyman for this, though. Because Andy Ruiz didn't want that smoke. He didn't want a Dillian White, claimed it wasn't there. He didn't want to fight Luis Ortiz. Oh, I need a tune-up. Okay, fine. This is your tune-up. But do not throw this shit. I repeat, do not throw this shit on pay-per-view. This is a pay-per-view, free TV exclusive. The return of Andy Ruiz. But a pay-per-view, why the hell would we see that? Maybe they're thinking, well, Andy Ruiz has a following now. He hasn't fought since 2019. Okay? So that's what, 14 months out of the ring, 15. And we're going to pay to see him fight a tune-up, a gatekeeper on top of that. Now, I'm disappointed in this because I expected more out of it. I knew that he was going to fight Chris Arreola. I knew who the opponent was, okay? I didn't expect it to be anybody else. But to egg this on and to have people thinking that, hey, this here is going to be the fight. No. On pay-per-view, you don't do that to people. You don't do that to fans. And for Andy Ruiz wanting this on pay-per-view, it's shitty. Now, what's the angle? Both Mexican fighters, you know, the Mexican influence. You know, maybe the Mexican fans will come out and support. You know, I don't know where the venue will be, though. But maybe people will buy it. Because Mexican fans, they take care of their fighters. They do that. They come out in support. You know, so that may be the saving grace. Maybe. But for the hardcore fans, why would we want to see that? You know, I guess they're thinking it's a showcase fight. Okay, if we could erase all the history of the possible potential fights that he had, this would be fine. The only problem with this is we already know who either called him out, offered him a bout, or wanted to see if he was going to come back to the ring and challenge himself. And he didn't do any of that. So Chris Arreola is the third option. And he picked the very third one. Shit, pick the second. Pick Ortiz. He's PBC. He's Al Heyman. They could have got together. That could have been a Cuba versus Mexico rivalry, right? That could have been that. But I guess this is what we have. So this is the hand that was dealt to us by Andy Ruiz. It's very disappointing. It is. But hopefully the Mexican fans will get a good fight. Hopefully Chris Arreola will come to fight. And we'll see a good night. But if we do see something like a Canelo, your Durham fight, it'll be over in like 3 rounds. People are going to pay for that shit. And then here's the thing. How much will it be? Will we pay $75 for this shit? Y'all better be like Triller and cut that shit in half. That shit better be $50 or $39. That would be okay. But then again, it's supposed to be this is a free TV fight, man. So it's still disappointing. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Andy Ruiz, Chris Arreola, both returning to the ring after losses. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.